In Singapore, property really is a conversation you just can't escape, especially when it comes to landed property. It's almost like a status symbol, where owning both the building and the land is seen as the pinnacle.
Absolutely. It's almost like people say it's the ultimate goal. You own your own little piece of heaven, right?
Exactly. And what's fascinating is that nowadays, the picture is a bit more nuanced. On one side, you have investors exploring alternative financing strategies to break into the market earlier.
Yeah, you're talking about strategies like co-investment, equity loans, and asset pledging, correct?
Right. Let's dive into co-investment first. Essentially, it's where two or more individuals pool together their cash and CPF resources to invest. It's like joining forces to get access to a property that might be totally out of reach alone, allowing them to possibly acquire a better located or larger property.
That sounds almost like a friendly business partnership, but surely there are complications, especially when personal lives change, like marriage.
Precisely. If one co-investor decides to get married, it could really mess with their eligibility for public housing programs down the road, like BTO flats or ECs. And there are also CPF restrictions and additional mortgages complications, including ABSD. So it requires a very high level of trust and shared long-term goals.
I can see that. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. What about the second strategy, equity loans? It sounds like a neat way to unlock trapped value.
Yeah, equity loans allow homeowners to tap into the equity that's built up in their property. Basically, the difference between the current market value and the remaining mortgage. It's like unlocking a piggy bank you didn't really know you had.
Right.
But the trick here is that while the interest rates tend to be more favorable, you must be cautious because it's officially not meant for buying additional properties.
That's interesting. So, someone using an equity loan is essentially using the potential of their home as collateral, while also having to be strictly careful with repayment, right?
Exactly. And because CPF savings can't be used for the monthly mortgage payments on these loans, it places the pressure on liquid cash flow. It's a strategy best suited for someone with a clear, short-term cash crunch or an opportunity that promises a higher return.
Makes sense. Now the third option, asset pledging. That's a bit different, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Asset pledging is really for those who might be asset rich but temporarily income constrained. They can use liquid assets like cash, stocks, or bonds as collateral to satisfy TDSR requirements. It's like saying, "Hey bank, I've got these goodies, just hold on to them as security while I borrow against it," which can boost their purchasing power.
Right, but I assume the bank's evaluation isn't 100%? I mean, the time frame matters, correct?
Spot on. If the asset is pledged for at least 4 years, the bank counts 100% of its value. But if it's shorter than that, they apply a 70% haircut. So down to only 30% of its value is considered. That really emphasizes the long-term commitment needed for maximum benefit.
That's a clever use of leverage, though I wonder if it might lock someone into a longer term than they'd prefer. It could be a bit restrictive for someone who values flexibility.
That's a fair point. It definitely requires the buyer to have a greater buffer of liquid wealth. Now, shifting gears a bit, there's a common perception that landed properties in Singapore are solely for the super rich. But some recent articles really challenge that notion, don't they?
They do indeed. The argument is that while prime landed properties are super expensive, the landed property market is actually more diverse than many think. It ranges from entry-level suburban terrace houses up to those ultra-exclusive GCBs that most people daydream about.
Right. Only about 5% of Singapore's housing stock are landed properties, which makes them inherently exclusive due to this scarcity. But you can still find some more modest, even older options that might need a bit of renovation.
And when you factor in aspects like renovation costs or higher maintenance expenses, it really becomes a trade-off between lifestyle benefits and financial commitments, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's like a balancing act. On one hand, you get the freedom and privacy of a landed property, full control, the ability to expand or renovate your space to your taste. But on the flip side, you're shouldering higher property taxes, maintenance, and even issues like aging infrastructure.
True, and compare that to larger condos. Condos offer built-in amenities, security, proximity to MRT stations, gyms, pools. Their all-inclusive nature often suits those who prefer a more hands-off approach in property management.
Exactly. So if you look at the lifestyle angle, it really boils down to whether you prefer spacious, customizable living with a bit of extra work or a more convenient, community-driven living environment.
And it's not just about lifestyle, but also about the financial strategy. For instance, using approaches like leveraging CPF funds, co-ownership, or even bridging loans when buying and selling simultaneously can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And there's also the perspective on resale trends. Landed properties, due to their limited supply, tend to exhibit stable or consistent growth over time, making them, in many cases, robust legacy assets.
Right.
Even during downturns like the COVID-19 pandemic or previous financial crises, they've held their value quite impressively.
That's really compelling. I mean, it does suggest that despite higher upfront and maintenance costs, these properties could serve as a hedge against inflation and economic instability.
Exactly. And then we have the comparison between small landed houses and larger condos. Small landed houses, often freehold, offer unparalleled privacy and customization potential, but they come with their own set of challenges: higher upkeep, higher purchase prices, and sometimes lower liquidity.
Whereas larger condos are, well, all about convenience and shared amenities, which can be particularly appealing for younger professionals or families looking for less hassle in daily management.
Right. A condo might bring you that pool, gym, and even security you want, without the heavy responsibility of maintaining a garden or dealing with structural repairs. It's essentially a lifestyle choice aligning with personal priorities. It's like choosing between a DIY home, lots of satisfaction but lots of work, and a turnkey solution.
Now here's a thought. Some argue that with the dynamic market shifts, especially with government and economic policies constantly evolving, waiting until 2025 could be risky or wise depending on your viewpoint. What's your take?
Well, that's where the recent podcast insights come into play. It's clear that price increases for landed properties are on the radar for 2025, and policy changes are something every buyer should closely monitor. The market is dynamic, and loan-to-value rates or cost rates can shift unexpectedly. It's crucial to keep updated and tailor financing strategies accordingly.
That makes sense. Although I wonder, don't you think that sometimes these financing strategies might be a bit overwhelming for the average investor?
I get that concern, but here's the thing. While they do add complexity, they also open up possibilities. With a tailored financial plan and expert advice, and many mortgage advisors offering bespoke services, investors can navigate these options strategically, molding them to their unique circumstances.
Definitely. True, making informed decisions seems essential since each method has its own risk-reward profile. It's really all about understanding personal financial goals and tolerance.
Exactly. So to sum up, we're looking at co-investment, equity loans, and asset pledging as viable, albeit complex, financing strategies. Each has pros and cons, whether it's the need for utmost trust in co-investment, the liquidity demands of equity loans, or the long-term commitment required for asset pledging.
And on the properties themselves, the narrative that landed properties are exclusively for the ultra-rich is being challenged. There's actually a spectrum of landed homes, from entry-level terrace houses to premium, highly exclusive estates, which means there's potentially something for a variety of buyers.
Exactly. It really comes down to personal financial situations, lifestyle goals, and long-term plans. Whether you're leaning towards the privacy of landed properties or the convenience of condos, the decision is deeply personal and should factor in everything from maintenance to financing hurdles.
And let's not forget future trends. Government policies, economic conditions, and even societal shifts like sustainable living and remote work are all going to shape these choices. It's a landscape that, while challenging, is also teeming with opportunities.
Absolutely. The key takeaway here is that keeping informed and aligning your property investment choices with your individual goals is essential. Whether you lean on alternative financing strategies or decide between landed and condo, it's all about finding that right fit for your lifestyle and financial capacity.
Right. So if anyone's considering jumping into this market or even just reevaluating their options, getting tailored advice from financial experts could be the game changer.
Exactly. It's like having a personal roadmap tailored to your financial goals. Stay informed, align those choices with your long-term vision, and you're well positioned to make smart investments in this ever-evolving property market.
And that's a wrap on our chat for today, a deep dive into creative financing solutions and property choices in Singapore. Thanks for this insightful rundown.
Absolutely. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and make those informed decisions that best suit you.